I'm going to die before I'm 20 at this rate. This review is not spoiler-free. It contains content that may be disturbing to some. Viewer discretion is advised. I have no idea why you're still watching. The first half should have been a good enough warning sign. Or maybe you aren't back and I'm just going insane and talking to myself. The latter is much more likely. Luckily for my sanity, some seasons of South Park can be discussed in one video, either because they're similar enough to generalize or because some aren't worth their own video. The second option is the case with the first 3 seasons. By the way, if I don't mention your favorite episode in these videos, it's because I secretly want to break into your house and rape your pet. Rewatching South Park's first few seasons, it's jarring to see how much it's changed over the years, for better and for worse. After watching the latest episode, watching season 1 almost felt like watching an entirely different show. As opposed to what's recently aired, the show's earlier run leaned more towards toilet humor, slapstick, and storylines that are more absurd than Shade's internet history. The series is critically acclaimed for its clever satire coupled with its cynical humor, and the first episode is about aliens kidnapping a little boy to put a device up his ass that causes him to fart fire. Another episode, titled Elephant Makes Love to a Pig, well, delivers exactly what its name promises.
Would you agree with the statement, this episode confirms that Matt Stone and Trey Parker are nothing but sick weirdos?
You know, what is so sick and wrong about 2 beings sharing the most intimate of moments? That's what I want to know.
The pilot Cartman Gets an Anal Probe was despised and considered too offensive to even exist when it first came out, although nowadays the episode is regarded by fans as a solid start to the series. Truly, it is the best example of art not understood in its time, and South Park is one of the few shows I find to have gotten better over time instead of getting worse. That isn't to say that I don't think there were more exceptional aspects of the series in the beginning, or that there aren't any changes made later on that I can't get behind. The main thing I believe was handled better in the older episodes was how the 4 main characters were depicted. The series has given the boys traits and backgrounds to make them stand out from each other since the beginning, with Stan being the average Joe from a Christian household, Kyle being the fantasy-centric character from a Jewish family, Kenny being from a poor house with a love for pornography and toilet humor, so the most relatable of the 4, and Cartman being a spoiled brat raised without a father figure. In the current version of the show, the boys are more or less voices of reason to the adults who are basically children in grown-ups' bodies. There's one episode where Stan straight up gives his dad advice on his drinking problem.
Dad, you like to drink, so have a drink once in a while. Have 2. If you devote your whole life to completely avoiding something you like, then that thing still controls your life and you've never learned any discipline at all. But learning to drink a little bit, responsibly, that's a discipline.
Rehab? A psychologist? An alcohol counselor? No. See your 8-year-old son if you're an alcoholic. In the show's first few seasons, the boys are much more naive and childish. They believe whatever the adults tell them, and they have a child's understanding of how the world works.
My dad is the smartest guy in the whole wide world. He has taught me that all poor people are actually things called clods. I want to live in a world of only gods, so my idea to make America better is put all the poor people into camps.
What?
If we get rid of them, there will be nothing but rich people. And there won't be any hunger, poverty, or homeless people, because they'll all be dead. The end.
When the show first came out, people apparently saw it as a crime against humanity to see the boys spewing profanities and ripping on each other, even though their behavior pretty accurately depicted how children act in real life. It was basically like reading a Karen rant because her kid heard someone say, "Damn it." It's not like a good story can't be told with the kids being the more mature characters, but I feel like better ones are told with them having more childish mindsets. One of my favorite episodes from the earlier run of South Park is Underpants Gnomes. In this episode, the boys are manipulated into being put into ads to promote and sell political benefits. If this episode aired in the 2010s, the boys would understand almost instantly that they're being manipulated and take some kind of action against it. Instead, we get a much more believable outcome that still teaches the adults a lesson without it being straight up told to them by the kids. I know season 2 isn't exactly highly regarded amongst fans, but I can admit that it had its gems. Stan and Kyle are the primary protagonists, with the episodes focused on them being on opposite ends of the spectrum. Stan's episodes focus on things that are typical of a young child, such as him running away from home to avoid punishment or trying to bond with his uncle on a hunting trip. The episodes centered around Kyle lean more towards, for lack of a better word, fantasy themes with plotlines such as him befriending a magical Christmas icon, which hilariously is a literal piece of shit, or having to save his baby brother Ike from aliens. While the two were similar in the beginning, both being good-hearted heroes, they still had their differences, like Kyle being short-tempered and outlandish, and Stan being somewhat more low-key and a bit of a dork. Traits that are likable and come with their share of faults, which make for pretty interesting main characters. You guys remember back when Kenny was a main character who actually did stuff and was allowed to have funny scenes?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Kenny is essentially the series' silent character, as he wears a large parka that muffles his speech, although there are select moments where his voice is clear, the first time being in the movie, bigger, longer, and uncut. It's hilarious that when you can make out what this adorable muffled voice is saying, it's usually something overly perverted. Of course, the thing with Kenny is that he dies in every single episode. One would expect this gag to get old immediately, but seeing the variety and unique ways that they have him die each episode actually makes it exciting to see what they'll do with it. But obviously they couldn't have this running joke go on forever, so in the later seasons it's a once in a while thing rather than something that happens every single episode. While seasons 1 and 3 were creative in how they killed him, his deaths in the second season honestly feel cheap and feel like they're there just because they needed to kill Kenny or they needed him out of the plot. Like, I actually forgot he died in season 2 a lot of the time. Something I forgot to mention in my last video is that the show's continuity is a bit inconsistent with how the characters react to Kenny's deaths. Sometimes they're aware that he dies all the time.
What, Kenny? He dies all the time!
Then other times they forget that he always dies.
All the time! I die all the time! And you assholes never remember!
Again, I don't get it. Cartman is the character whom I feel got the most changes with each passing season. In the first 3, rather than being a sociopathic antagonist, he's mainly just a spoiled brat. It's always been a major part of his character that he has a hole in his life due to a lack of a father figure and being raised by a woman who makes a living off of being a whore. What's hilarious is that the episode where we were supposedly going to learn who his father is ended on a cliffhanger and was promised to be resolved the week after, but the week after ended up being April Fool's, so Parker and Stone decided to instead put on an episode of the in-universe show Terrence and Phillip.
To find out who Cartman's father was, we told viewers to tune in 4 weeks later.
Well, 4 weeks later just happened to be April Fool's Day, and so we thought it would be fun to not air the cliffhanger payoff, but instead air something completely irrelevant and stupid, a full half-hour Terrence and Phillip episode.
You're a dick.
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 The two of you are the most annoying dicks in Canada. You give other Canadians a bad name, and if I had
I'm sorry, Scott. Could you hold on a minute?
Sure.
Just amazing. It's probably the best example of how you can make an episode that's based entirely around fart jokes. As opposed to being essentially children in grown-up bodies, the adult characters early on are based on the more realistic types of people that try to force their viewpoints on impressionable kids. Everyone has had one adult figure in their life like that, don't even lie to me. Like the boys, almost every adult character is given distinct traits to stand out from each other. Sheila is the quintessential Karen who preaches think of t children's 24/7. Mr. Mackey is the down-on-his-luck school counselor who is apparently based on Parker's school counselor, Mr. Lackey, with little to no exaggerations.
He was based on an actual counselor I had in junior high school. Well, I used to run around the hallways getting in trouble, and he'd say, "Trey, you need to calm down and get back to your schoolwork, okay?" And now I'm making $1 million off of him.
The worst one is that he could so sue us because I had a counselor, Mr. Lackey. And it was the first time I started doing voices because he'd walk down the hallways and go, "How's it going today, boys?" And we'd all go, "Fine, Mr. Lackey, how you doing?" And he never knew we were all doing his voice back to him, you know.
And my favorite character, Mr. Garrison, is a stupidly right-leaning closet homosexual who expresses his repressed gay side through a puppet he actually believes to be sentient. Also, closet gay Mr. Garrison with Mr. Hat is 1,000,000 times better than Trump parody Mr. Garrison. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. In contrast, you'd have the school cook chef, great name by the way, I wish I was named depressed YouTuber, who would act more as a father figure to the boys. While he is strongly opinionated, he never attempts to mingle his adult beliefs with their childish innocence. He only offers them advice when he can tell they're in need, and he shies away from telling them what he thinks their parents should. Also, the fact that he calls them his little crackers is the most precious thing I have ever heard.
How are my little crackers today?
Good.
That's not to say every adult character early on was handled well. Officer Barbrady's shtick of being a clueless cop loses its punch after 2 seconds, and I think Harrison Yates handles that joke a lot better. Then there's characters like Randy and Lyanne, who early on are as noteworthy as Twitter news. Parker and Stone have expressed their dislike for the second season, and they've stated that they agree with the popular consensus that the third season was when the show started to get its ball rolling.
The third season is really where South Park started to turn the corner, in our opinion, and become at least good to us. Because second season we didn't really like so much.
Yeah, looking back.
Yeah.
And a lot of South Park fans feel the same way, that there's a lot of funny stuff in the second season. I mean, it's better than a lot of stuff. But
we were just trying to figure out still what it was and how to do it. And, this was the first time that this season I think we really started to turn it around.
South Park has always had some social commentary, although it didn't become as prominent until this season, with episodes such as Rainforest, Schmainforest, and Shin Pokemon. The former being an amazing parody of the string of environmentalist movies that were fucking everywhere around the time, and the second being a parody of the Pokemon franchise. In the Season 3 audio commentary, Parker and Stone said that Rainforest Schmainforest was inspired by Parker's less-than-negative experience visiting Costa Rica, the place where the boys in the episode go for a school project, and that it was particularly fun recording Cartman's lines. Shin Pokemon is a Pokemon parody told from an outsider's perspective of this booming fad at the time. Fun fact, Shin Poko means penis, because of course it does.
Well, I'm letting Eric go to the camp. I mean, it seems to me this Pokemon thing is just another harmless fad.
Yeah, but then they went on for too long and started doing dumb shit like making the evil power a bunch of simps, and they gave Shu a new evolution which just looked stupid. Why couldn't they leave it at the evil power being PETA?
Dude, the video game gave Kenny a seizure. Ew, this game rules.
While I can't find any proof that this bit with Kenny getting a seizure is in reference to Electric Soldier Porygon, an episode of the Pokemon anime that gave over 300 Japanese kids seizures, South Park isn't the type of show to throw in a coincidence like that. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was being made alongside the third season, which resulted in Parker and Stone bringing in things they learned to improve characters and story structure onto the show.
We were doing the movie at the same time, and we were learning so much about structure and characters and all that during the movie that we were then able to start applying to the show.
It also resulted in them working so much that they both completely forgot the episode Sexual Harassment Panda.
you get really tired and you laugh at everything, this is what this is.
Season 3 also includes the Meteor Shower trilogy, a collection of 3 episodes that each center around one or two of the boys and events that occur on the same night. It was pretty interesting, even if it was the table scraps from the movie. I kinda wish the show would do this type of thing more often. It was also this trilogy that introduced the fan favorite Butters, although what's weird is that when he's introduced, he's a shrub practically wearing a kick me sign, and then in his very next appearance, he's a bully. Can I make a new rule that every time this show has an inconsistency, I can plug something? Screw it, I'ma do it. Do you want to see your characters drawn in a crappy weeaboo art style? Do you want to see your characters making out? Do you want porn? Come on down to Shiny Pieces Garbage Art Commissions, where you can get all of these things and more for as cheap as $8. More info is on the pinned comment of this video. Shiny Pieces Garbage Art Commissions, there to satisfy your weeby needs. Alright, we're at the part of the video where I survey you guys. Which episode of the Meteor Shower trilogy is your favorite? Mine would probably have to be Jubilee, because any episode with Kenny as a focus can't go wrong. Leave your answers down in the comments and I'll see you next century. Okay, bye. I can't do a Mr. Mackey impression back.